Brian Crawford. Good morning to you, sir.
Hey, Dan and Aaron, how are y'all this morning?
Hanging in there.
Yeah, us too.
Tragedy at the dog park the night before last. A small dog was killed. The owner, I don't know if you've heard this or not yet, but she has come out and said, this was my fault. I did not follow the rules. I made a horrible mistake. I take responsibility. We don't hear that very often these days, personal responsibility. Was it good to hear?
I tell you, it's refreshing and it's unfortunate, and certainly our condolences and sympathies go out despite the fact that she's made those statements. She's still lost, and I'm a dog lover. I have 2 animals, and losing one of them is like losing a family member, so I understand and sympathize with her.
Clear this up for me.
Sure.
The shy dog side, is it the small dog side? Is it the shy dog side? What is it for?
One of the things that we did in creating the dog park and the lengthy number of rules that I've seen debated over the last 2 days, and some people saying there's too many rules and some people saying there's not enough rules, but what we did was we looked at cities with similarly sized dog parks and populations, and we took those best practices, and what we found was through the subject matter experts is that it was better to have a shy dog area because you could have a large animal too that does not like to associate with other animals and is shy, and that would be better in separating the dogs by that type of mannerism than any other mechanism.
What is your message to people who, and this has just blown up, as you know, on Facebook,
Sure.
and people are saying, we should have never had a dog park after all. We knew this was going to be a problem. Anything in Shreveport's going to suck, blah, blah, blah. All that BS, and I'm going to say BS because that's what it is.
I'm right there with you.
That's what it is.
Hey, listen, it's Friday and the sky is not falling.
Yeah,
okay?
Yeah, we have a dog park. We now have a dog park. We need rules, and we need people to follow them.
Listen, the city provides a number of quality of life enhancements throughout the city for public use. These include various parks, including the dog park. They include recreation centers, the stadium, the new bicycle lanes, and the roads that you drive on. And we know that there are going to be accidents that occur on roads and, at recreation centers that could potentially be avoided by following the rules, and some of those can't. But we can't close the roads because there's an accident. Six Flags doesn't close up because they have an accident at Six Flags. There are rules in place and risk management guidelines to follow to allow individual citizens to have the liberty and the freedom to enjoy these things that we have in the city, but they have to take personal responsibility and ensure that they follow the rules so that they minimize the opportunity to have a negative impact like we saw a couple of days ago.
Right.
One of the things that the dog park issue, it's really just understanding the rules. When a person enters the park, just like they would anywhere else, they need to remember that their pet is an extension of themselves, and thus they're legally responsible for the behavior and the actions just as they are responsible for their own, and that's in anything that they do. And so, there's going to be opportunities for the city to evaluate every case that occurs on a case-by-case basis to see if there's room for improvement. But in this instance, you have someone who has been reported to have violated a number of the rules, one being the attendant must be 18 years of age, and that didn't happen. 2, that children under 12 must be accompanied by an adult. We understand that didn't happen as well. And then on the other side, you had dogs engaged in excessive behavior or fighting, and you have to have the owners of those animals should have maintained a distance to where they could have controlled their animals. If they saw their animals, the larger animals, attacking a smaller animal, they should have been able to intervene immediately and stop that action and remove their dogs from the park. A lot of people think they've got Fluffy or whoever at home, and they've never interacted with other dogs, and they're great, and let's bring them to the dog park, and they can meet new friends. But listen, if you don't know the mannerism of your dog and how they're going to interact with other dogs, the dog park is not the place for them to learn that.
Have you had any people who have offered to volunteer to help with education, animal behavior, things like that? I know some people were jokingly offering to proofread your signs, but seriously, are there going to be people out there perhaps with bright apron warning things that they're like dog educators? Is that something that could happen and help?
Yeah, I think we partnered with the Dog Alliance and a number of individuals who are pet lovers and owners to make this as family friendly and as user friendly as possible. And so that's something that we're looking at. And obviously, if we need to have an educational period for a learning curve, that's something that we can evaluate as well.
Brian, if I follow all the rules and Tiger gets attacked,
Sure.
Is the city of Shreveport liable at all?
In creating the ordinances, when somebody enters the park, they have implied consent that they are responsibility and waive all liability for the city of Shreveport, the Caddo Parish, and the officers and employees. And so they undertake that at their own risk and hold the city harmless by law.
But a good lawyer can sue anybody, right?
But yeah, you can be sued for anything. It doesn't matter what type of rules or laws that you have in place. Me or you could file a lawsuit against anybody we wanted to today if you got the right lawyer. That's for sure.
Okay, critical that people understand. You have to have control of your dog. If your dog you don't have control of your dog, that it comes to you when you call it, etc., that the dog park is probably not the place for you.
Yeah. No, like I said, I'm a dog lover. Don't get me wrong. I love my dogs, but I know one of them, Benny, he does not interact with dogs very well. And so I'm not taking my dogs to the dog park because I know that there's probably going to be a behavior that I don't want to see out there. And so, like I said, that's not the place for them to learn their dog's behavior.
What about the rule of no toys? I've been to a lot of dog parks. I'm a dog park lover.
I know.
There have been toys at every one I've ever been to before. Right. Ours says no toys. And everybody's bringing them.
Yeah, and that's part of the rules to allow for safety of the animals and safety of the pedestrians that are also in that enclosed area, because and I know dogs, whether it's a Frisbee or a ball or something like that, can end up squabbling over that. And so that's what we don't want to see, having something in there to entice some type of aberrant behavior by the animals themselves. And so the least distractions we have in there, like toys, food is prohibited in there as well, and because that could end up causing the dogs to interact with one another in a negative connotation. We don't want to see that either. So we tried to remove everything that could potentially cause any conflict inside of the dog park.
Now, what is the responsibility for the dogs who attacked? I mean, could this end up being a civil matter? Could this end up being, I don't know that we know their names at this point. Is it something that you have heard, or can you shed any more light on those folks?
Well, let me say this. The same rules that apply in the dog park apply outside of the dog park, and that being, if your dog attacks another dog in your yard or on a public street or anywhere else, you've got a possibility for being held liable personally. And so, if those things happen at the park, animal control needs to be called. If it's something where the police need to be called, then 911 needs to be called. If medical attention needs to be rendered to an individual, or that being a person, then EMS and 911 needs to be called. If it's a park amenity issue where there's a danger out there, maybe the fence is doing something and sticking out where somebody could get caught or an animal could get caught, then SPAR needs to be called. So anything that happens in the confines of that park that you would see happening anywhere else in the city, where you would pick up the phone and say, man, I need to call animal control, that's a dangerous animal, or this animal bit another animal, or something else, then you call animal control. If it's something criminal and you feel like the police need to be called, then you call the police. Again, if it's medical, then you would call the EMS services.
And the child issue, people want to intervene in dog fights or dog squabbles, and a child getting hurt is a serious concern that we have to prevent.
And that was one of our biggest, in looking at this situation from the information that we've been able to glean, is that there were 2 minor children unaccompanied by an adult, which is a rule violation, who tried to intervene in the confrontation between the dogs. And you have to ask if the adults of all the dogs that were involved were following the rules and in close proximity to their animals, could they have intervened and this whole situation been avoided? No one will ever know that. I'm not second guessing, but that's why the rules are in place.
Is this going to happen again,
Brian? We all have to
Brian?
put our big boy and girl pants on.
Yeah.
We have to be adults, and we have to take advantage of these amenities, but we also have to follow the rules, and the rules are there for a reason.
Are more things forecast for the small area? It seems kind of bleak right now. Is that something that there might be some more attractions in the shy dog area?
Yeah, I think, every amenity that we have in the city, we're always looking to enhance it and make it more user-friendly. So one of the things that we said in the creation of this dog park, just like we did the bike lanes and possibly expanding them down the road, we're going to look at how, the park operates for the first several months, and then do an evaluation if we need to change, anything, based on that to make it more user-friendly for, different size animals, or just to, improve that experience for the dog owner and the pet as well. That's something that we're always, open to. And the city's, and, Mayor Tyler is always open to, bringing new things to the city and also improving the amenities that we have to make them better.
Sad, Brian, that it hadn't even been open a week and we had to go through this.
Yeah, it is. I mean, like I said, there, no question about it. Despite the fact that, rules weren't followed and those types of things, it doesn't dismiss the loss of, a pet, and we understand that.
Brian Crawford, CAO, Shreveport, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
You bet.